Good morning. Welcome to Intuitive Tuesday. So, in order to get into Intuitive Tuesday, I need to go over some chain of events on Monday. So, Monday I found myself, as you'll see in my video from yesterday, with intentions to do something and then found myself floundering and avoiding them and winding up in places in the vicinity of where I was supposed to go, but not quite landing there. And when I found myself at my breakfast place instead of the gym, I felt very grateful to the fact that when I walked in the door, my waitress remembers who I am, because I've been a regular there for a while, but I hadn't been in like 2 months. And she put my order in, and I felt very appreciated, remembered. It just touched my heart. And then when my food came, I was blessing my food, and I found myself welling up with tears, kind of like I am right now. And then I would hear the people at the table next to me laughing and talking and wishing this middle-aged older woman happy birthday. And I thought, how awesome. How awesome. It's her birthday. And people are out here on a Monday just slowly trickling into the table to sit down and join them to eat for a morning birthday. How wonderful. And it made me very teary-eyed. And so I started to really just think about all the work that I've done on myself and to be a better practitioner for others, and how much it just cracks your heart open. And having these feelings of just getting very teary-eyed and feeling super sensitive or hypersensitive, reactive to just the love vibes that are going on around you, which is just a simple heart response of just feeling so grateful. And so then I started thinking about, wow, all this work is not for the faint of hearts. Doing this work, this due diligence, this opening the window up and throwing your freaking self out, and then putting yourself out there on platforms where you're putting your true self out, which can be raw and vulnerable to reactions and responses back. But at the same time, the most important thing to remember is the fact that you're doing it, and the responses and the reactions are irrelevant to the step, that you're going to do it regardless of what the A-OK approval or thumbs down, you suck. So I really started thinking about the faint of hearts. And I know that the faint of hearts means grow weak. It can mean squeamish, lack of courage, especially in the face of danger. It can mean you're not bold. You know, there's things that are said that say, you know, I think there was a saying back in the 1500s, you will never get a fair lady with a faint of heart. So you're weak and you lack courage, so you better get some boldness and get your A game on. And of course, we use this analogy for many things that we do. Many things that we do. And one of the things that was coming through to me was that the faint of hearts is sometimes used for people who are weak, who show vulnerability, and it doesn't have a high approval rate. And so many of us just don't show that side of ourselves, that raw, vulnerable, self, taking down the shields. We can only possibly share some of that with the closest, most intimate relationships. And even then we pick and choose, because some of those relationships may be very responsive in ways that could shut us down. And one of the first things it shuts down is your fifth chakra, your ability to vocalize. So then you have this missing bridge between the mind and the heart, because you've taken this out. And they all have to work simultaneously, all the chakras, all the systems, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, etherically. They have to work in this beautiful, beautiful machinery, and it all has to come together with the perfect timing, and for it to flow, But we've separated all of these categories of self, and much of it has been from the programming and from past experiences in this lifetime and in others that we brought forward to possibly work on. So maybe perhaps in one lifetime you were overzealous, over courageous, over bold, and just really had your A game on when it wasn't acceptable for maybe your gender or the situation. You lost your head over it. Literally, you lost your life over it. I can tell you through past life regression work, I had that occur many times, which is what made a lot of sense for me in this lifetime on the issues with my vocal cords and my fifth chakra. So I really had to learn to overcome that, and to find out when the right timings were for me to be courageous and bold, and when to be a little step back and be the observer, which can be construed as being passive, can also be misconstrued as being weak and being faint of heart. And so we have all this conjumbulation, and I have no idea if that's a word, but conjumbulation, I freaking like it. It just downloaded in my head. That's why I say I make up my own words. Conjumbulation. We have all this conjumbulation of stuff, experiences, programming, approval rates, all this stuff that really blocks us from clearing off the debris that prevents us from seeing our true authentic self as this beautiful human housing our soul cellular self. So there are times when we have to step up, and there are times where we have to step sideways, and there are times where we have to step out of the way. But we do it based on a true, authentic choice in those moments, not guided by fear, not guided by persecution, not guided by incoming, I might lose my life, I'm in protection mode, right? And we learn this as children when we get scolded, or comments are made. And remember, children live through the heart, and then they're taught, that's right, that's wrong, do this, do that, don't feel this way, okay? So again, old programmings. So we spend a lot of our adult time trying to undo and untwist and unkink some of the things that we have experienced. And that, my friends, takes courage to step back and say, hey, my vein of life is a little kinked up, and I want a full flowing vein of life, and my life force to run through that vein from Mother Earth to Father Sky, through this vessel and beyond, to really be able to see things with different lenses mentally, different lenses physically, different lenses spiritually, emotionally, etherically. You're learning through different lenses. And so a lot of this can create issues in current relationships, separation from relationships, dissolvement of relationships. Relationship with self is the most important thing that we can focus on. And perhaps those relationships that we have were brought to us through the falsity, through the cloaks, through the programs in which we have protected ourselves with, cushioned ourselves with, protecting our raw, authentic beingness of our God spark, soul, spiritual, cellular, physical self. So I really just suggest that as often as you can, sift through why you're saying what you're saying, why you're doing what you're doing, what triggers, reactions, and responses affect you, and ask why. Why is it that I am reactive? Why is it that I am responding in the way I am? Why is it that I'm using the words in my vocabulary that may not be the right words? And why do I judge consciously and unconsciously that others' behaviors isn't acceptable, or that my personal behavior isn't acceptable? What makes me tick? What makes me the I am of my I am? And is what I've surrounded myself with consciously and unconsciously, is that how I truly want to be in my adult self? And then perhaps I can look at a few things and I can just give love and forgiveness and release it, never to say those words or feel that thought or allow someone else to be the recipient of some of my approval or disapproval, or words that may affect them that just flew out of our mouth that we may not take responsibility for because to us it meant something else. We have the power to make and break. Yes, we do. But it starts with us. It starts with us. And it requires rolling back and taking a look from a different lens, a different viewpoint, and looking at situations and staying quiet without any reactionary or responsatory anything. So our impulses to repeat old patterns are placed on hold. They're paused. And maybe get out an old-fashioned dictionary. You can Google, but just understand that, look at a couple different references within that so that you have a better understanding of certain things. You know, faint of heart is also used in medical terms for this person can't handle a lot of stress. A lot of stress. So don't put them through this test or that test. So going through what we're going through in the times that we're in is what we came here to do. So whether we speak up or we're in silence, as long as it's our authentic voice of quietness or loudness or the volume, however you choose to place it through your actions, that is something you have to take responsibility for, and know that you're in full participation of all things that have happened up until this moment. But perhaps now you've awakened to, that is not a behavior I want to carry forward. That is not a legacy that I want to leave. And that is not in this moment how I want to respond or react to this person, place, or thing. So when you really understand your oneness, you become responsible for everything. And I'm sorry, it wakes me well up, because it's a huge responsibility, but it's one that actually just, for me, just puts me just in my body. And I just move with more grace and ease and diligence, because I want to respect the energies that I'm responsible for, and the energies that I put out and that I take into this vessel. And sometimes to break through these hardened patterns, our body has to release through tears. And the tears sometimes come with this, what I want to call this pulsating heart. Like into the gut, like, please forgive me for this past behavior. Oh my goodness, I wonder if my words got twisted when they came out and I left some hurt on that person. And then that person's going to carry that hurt, and it could form them. And that is not what I intended to do. So I forgive and I release that of myself. And from this moment forward, I remind myself of the importance of my words and my feelings and my intentions and my actions. And that, my friends, is the power of change. And that takes courage. And it will soften your heart. And every frequency in your environment, in your atmosphere. So let those tears flow. Get to know your faint of heart. Get to know thyself. And just allow the old to be released that no longer serves you or in this universe, because this isn't just an individual thing. You're picking up on collective energy. And so one person at a time forms groups, communities, counties, states. Yes. One person at a time, and it starts with you. If I can be of any help on this journey, embodimentofthesoul.com. Please like, subscribe, and share, and start really working with your column of light. So much love, my friends.